Good morning, Chicago.
Good morning.
Uh-huh. So you're early. Yeah, Rich.
Yes.
Did you get your test result back or not?
No, not yet.
Okay. Then I asked our IT guy what happened. He could not yet find your email or your test. And there is a good that you mentioned because maybe 300 more didn't get it back.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yes.
Hopefully it's not that many, but yeah, hopefully it's just, I mean, Michael got his and
Yes.
um that's
Hello,
what
Rich. Hello. Hello,
Hi,
Martin. How are you?
Michael.
Good morning.
Yes. Morning to you.
morning. Um so that that was a little frustrating. But anyway, maybe I'll just go in and retake it and
Wait, I'm asking him and then get it back. I hope that Roland is in today because he mentioned last time that he wanted to combine the Ansoff matrix with the Boston Consulting Group matrix.
yeah.
And I can tell you this does not make sense at all. And I really thought a long time about this because but it's now, let's wait. Maybe he would come in. If that happens, then I'm going to repeat myself.
Well, Martin, there's a McKinsey matrix too. I think the McKinsey has 9 cells. Have you heard of that one? That's very famous around GE for 30 years.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of matrices, but he mentioned the Boston Consulting Group matrix because it's so easy.
Well, it's a cash cow. Bruce Henderson 40 years
Yeah.
ago invented that. It's real
Yeah.
simple.
And I mean, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to try to combine those.
Yeah,
Because
and I tell you why, because the the Ansoff matrix is a real strategic matrix. It tells you if you try out different business strategies, how much risk comes with the respective strategy, right?
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something that that what you give a general, right? To say, okay, now you have 4 options. And they come with different risks, but also with different gains. And now you decide what you want, and then but don't complain later that something get lost because this was a very risky thing. So to me, that looks like something that what the owner of a or a CTO of a company who has a limited budget naturally would want in order to decide what do I do? Do I put all my resources into market penetration, which means that I need more marketing guys, or do I develop something and then try also to sell it at the same time, or do I want a new market, or do I try both at the same time, which is a diversification? And the Boston Consulting Group matrix, the one with the dog and the cash cow and the question mark and well, I don't know, I always forget what it is something. I would say that if you have the choice to cut a business away or to sell one, which one to choose? But you have 10 businesses, and then you need to find out which one is good. And then of course I would cut away the dogs, right? Where you always fight in a red ocean for the price. And I would not cut away my cash cow unless someone really pays me more than what the um, the interest rate is, what it pays me, or the profit in percent what it makes. And um, and the question mark, wait, what is it? The star would be the one that has the future upside, right? And you would not easily trash your star
Well,
company.
Martin,
Yes.
there's financial analysis that's very important for the BCG matrix. The idea is, like you just said, keep your cash cows, but the stars generally are sucking cash flow because you're investing to grow. Okay. So
Yes.
you're right. The dogs you get rid of, the problem children are the ones where you have low share, but it's high growth. Low share, like GE said, either be 1, 2, or 3 in a market or get out. Okay. So, and then the Ansoff, you like the term I use, concentric diversification. So Ansoff, new market, new product, that existed way before Ansoff. Okay, that's been around probably 80 years in business school textbooks. The idea of diversification is, you know, your existing customers know you and so forth. So it's easier, my own opinion, it's easier to do a new product or service to an existing customer
No,
rather than go out and hire marketing
no,
people.
what I think is that you should not combine two matrices that look at different aspects of the timeline.
Well,
And
they're all important. They're all important. I think the BCG one talks about the financial implications for the enterprise. In other words, if you're going after stars, you better have investors willing to take risk, and you better be ready to fund those new ventures, new stars, new product development, new S curves, if you will, that can really suck a lot of cash off the resources of the enterprise. The balance sheet can really suffer if you're not careful, because you're giving away shareholder investment on high risk new activity.
yeah, so would you agree that the cash cows and the dogs are in the upper left corner of the Ansoff matrix, where we talk about market penetration?
Well, in the Ansoff, the cash
Uh,
cows are in the lower left. Okay. In other words, your existing products, the existing markets, that's the lower left of the Ansoff. The cash cows can be good because they could be S curves that go 40 years. If you're making nuts and bolts at Illinois Tool Works, they've been making nuts and bolts for 80 years. They're printing money, right? You make automotive nuts and bolts, and it's 80% gross margin because you're making them millions at a time. They're classic cash cows that have S curves that are 50 years or more.
So are we now discussing whether market penetration is in the upper left or in the lower left corner?
Market penetration's in the upper left.
Yeah, that's what I think. So the dogs and the cash cows would be there, right?
Yeah, if the Ansoff, your upper left, you're absolutely right, Rich. Those are the cash cows. It's existing products and
Hmm.
well,
The other,
and new, yeah, they're new markets. So I don't think they're cash cows. The cash cows would be in the lower left of the Ansoff, Rich, not the upper left.
I didn't say that. What I said was market penetration is in the upper left.
Yeah. Yeah, and I believe cash cows are the ones that have a predictable business. So they are somehow in the low
Mar-
risk.
Market
Yes.
penetration um, and basically, a cash cow, they're dissimilar. There's no relationship to market penetration and a cash cow product versus a marginal product. I
The
mean,
upper left, Rich, the upper left is new market. Penetration to me is lower left. You're just increasing your share by either cutting price or
Yeah,
having
but
better
it
geographic
depends
coverage.
where you start the y-axis. Do you start with zero from on the top or from the bottom? That's all. But when you say Ansoff and penetration, then you would know which corner it is. No product development, no market development. And that brings me actually, yes, go ahead.
But I just wanted to say that, basically both of those are diagnostic tools, right?
Yes.
And they're diagnosing two different things. In Ansoft, you're talking product market, and within, basically the BCG matrix, you're talking about business units or lines of business. And, basically, they're dissimilar. So
Yes.
there's no overlap there, other than, one can be used and the other one can be used as part of a diagnostic tool set of a company.
Yes.
And one of the other ways that I like to use the Ansoft is as part of a diagnostic with a client to understand where have they invested, because often they don't look at it as a portfolio view. They only look at it as, a single product entity view. And once you start to lay out, where their products are on the Ansoft, in what quadrant, there's huge gaps.
Well, Rich, BCG does the same thing. They also call it, Martin, they call it the bubble chart. So you take each of the segments of the business, and they have to be very specific. They could be penetration with examples like the electric motor industry, but the bubble for electric motors is just one bubble. As you increase the penetration, that bubble gets bigger, and the overall market, let's say for electric motors, is 3% growth, and one company could have 40% share of the entire motor industry. So the bubble gets bigger as your penetration improves on the BCG matrix. On the Ansoft matrix, my opinion is if you're increasing your share or market penetration, Rich, that's still in the lower left corner. It's existing. It's not new.
We are back to discussing where is penetration. Is it market penetration? Is it on the lower left or on the upper left? It depends where you start.
Martin, I think the key is segmentation. Okay. So if you're in an industry, let's say the industry is vitamin pills, the segmentation of vitamin pills goes soup to nuts. So you have to be careful with your semantics. I think the penetration is definitely existing customer, existing market segments, existing products.
Yeah.
Lower left.
Roland, you are here. We started the discussion for you. Is there now more clarity or not?
I just realized that I triggered the whole business field or whatever. No, it's sorry, I joined a little bit later, so I didn't hear what you said initially in the first 2 minutes.
What I said is that I believe it doesn't make sense to combine the Ansoft matrix with the Boston Consulting Group matrix.
Well, I do. It makes sense. It's intriguing. Right at the moment, I'm staring at the Ansoft matrix as available from Wikipedia, and I'm trying to follow the arguments which have been exchanged. Okay, lower left, market penetration, upper left, market development. Okay, if you have a rising star from a BCG matrix, it definitely has to go to market development because it's a new market and you want to conquer new market shares. This is what the BCG matrix actually dictates. If you have a company or a company branch where you say, well, there's a new market and we have to get market share, then you should invest your money. And it has been mentioned previously that, of course, the cash cows finance this whole financial flows, going from cash cow to stars. So for me, it's a very important tool, and I think it's very interesting to combine these two segments.
Yeah.
So guys,
yes.
Okay. So Ansoft is set up that you've got in the upper left-hand quadrant, you've got market penetration. Then in the lower left is market development. The upper right is product development, and the lower right is diversification. So
Okay.
that's how.
Sorry for
Oh,
interrupting you. Can we agree on the same ANSOF metrics? Because I'm looking at Wikipedia, what they write, and it's a little bit reversed.
yeah, and that's what I was about to say, Roland. There's 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 a couple different versions of Ansoft that are out there, but the way that Ansoft, if you go back to the original Ansoft matrix that Ansoft actually put together, it's in that order: is market penetration, upper left, diversification, the lower right, and as I just described, and then you've got from low risk to high risk, and the low risk is market penetration, and a high risk is diversification, and the arrows go across the x and y axis of that.
The Wikipedia's got it different, Rich. That's what Roland's looking at.
Yeah, I understand, but Wikipedia is not the source.
I believe that both exist is the same because it depends where your y-axis starts. Does it start at the top or at the bottom? And the and the y-axis stands for whether or not you address the same market or a new market. And Roland, the STAR principle is not only those business venture that address only a new market, but also those that address a new market with a new product, which is diversification, which is depends on whether you look at Wikipedia or other form, the upper or lower right corner of the Ansoff matrix. But the important thing, where I always come back to the Ansoff matrix, is this. For more than 3 years or 4 years, I have always wondered what is the area, how do you call the Ansoff matrix area where you look for a new market with the existing product or a slightly different product, which
That's
is
in the upper left, Martin. If you look at the Wikipedia.
yeah, okay, Michael. It doesn't matter whether it's upper or lower left. This
Well, you
is why.
asked the question. You asked the
No,
question, sir. So get an answer.
no, come
Gee
on. There
whiz.
is no definitive answer to that. It depends where your y-axis, where you deliberately
It's
put your
it's
y-axis.
diversification, I think.
No,
The way you
diversification is new product with new market.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yes, is the lower right or the upper right depends where your y-axis starts. So what I always wanted to know, and what I saw, because we hired two business development people, and the first time that I could really make use of the Ansoff matrix was when I discussed with them what they are going to do. And I hope that one of them is even in the talk today. I told him to be here, but he's not. So,
He needs to be fired then.
say again?
He needs to be fired.
Probably. and uh, and what they tried is they were applying market penetration techniques in the first work weeks. Right? And when I looked at what they say, because they tried to understand our product line and then to find people for that. And then I said, hey, look, I brought you in because you wanted to do business development, right? And he said, yes, yes. I said, so why don't you do business development? And then he said, but I'm doing business development. I said, no, you're doing sales. And said, yeah, but that's what I'm required to do. I said, yes, sure, you need to do sales, but not the entire time. At least half of your time, I expect you to develop the business. And then we discussed what is business development. And business development is the transition from the penetration to the new market with the same product.
Hang on a second, Martin.
Say again?
Hang on. So, basically, market penetration is existing products with existing markets.
Yes.
Okay. So you're penetrating a known market with a known product.
Yes.
Okay. And basically that is selling more widgets to the same industries, the same customer base,
Yes.
etc. Right. market development is existing products in new markets.
Yes.
Okay. So you need to put it in that context. Forget the market penetration, market development, idea for a second, but think about, are they selling new products or are they selling, existing products? And
If they're selling existing products to new markets, that would be clearly, I don't know how you call it was the best, but I would say is market/business development.
And well, that's market development. Okay. Selling existing products to new markets is,
Yes.
okay. So business development, the idea of business development is to create new customers in new markets.
No, but that's diversification. Yes, you're right. If you do the same with new products, then it's diversification.
Say, Martin, the other interesting thing is that the BCG matrix looks at the industry attractiveness, the market attractiveness. Okay.
Yeah, but
The
we are not
Ansoff
talking about the
matrix-
BCG matrix. We're talking about
Okay,
Ansoff.
well, I'll go back to Ansoff. I'll say it in the negative. Ansoff ignores the growth and the business attractiveness because they depend on some bearded stranger in the company to figure out what do we want to do in getting more money for our shareholders.
Yeah,
The reason I mentioned GE's McKinsey is if you
no, we are not
patient,
talking about
be
McKinsey.
patient, be
No,
patient. On the
Michael,
y-axis, they go
we
industry
have we have
attractiveness.
the problem with the business development people who do not know what is business development.
Industry attractiveness is fundamental in the McKinsey, so be patient for a second. You might learn something. All right.
No. Um,
Well,
back
fine. Cut me off at the knees.
back to Rich. Rich, you were interrupted. You wanted to finish.
Well, I just wanted to say that business development is looking for, not only, business within existing markets with existing products, but it's also looking for new products to apply to new markets. It's doing both.
Yes.
And that's where, people get sort of caught up in their underwear is that, sometimes a business development person is, basically, playing around in existing markets and existing products. And then often, then they switch all of a sudden to, a new product in a new market. And, they catch some heat from management about that, like, what are you doing? Well, the answer is very clear. I mean, they've got to do both, because what ends up happening is that you need to identify, those growth opportunities that were unseen for the product in its original carnation of its application. And all of a sudden you found a new application area for, this new product.
Yep.
That's business development. And then, creating the conditions, internally,
Yes,
bring that business into the organization within its, current architecture. And that's where it gets pretty funky, right?
yes. Funky in a positive or in a negative way?
Well, it can be either way.
Uh-huh.
Because I'll give you an example. I had a product that that our division over in Japan was very successful with, right? And basically the way that they sold that product to clients was around basically its quality of being able to provide a higher quality product at the end, right? Because it had this certain capability. And so the quality piece of it became really their mantra to sell this product.
Mm-hmm.
So they were, focused on quality, right? Well, when we brought that product to the States, I was doing the business development, market development. I was the lead for that product. And before I sold any, I went out and I tried to talk to potential customers that would give me, some feedback as to its use and their view of that. So I knew how to position it properly. Well, the positioning that I used here was totally different. I used the productivity, right? And basically, it was a productivity improvement and an energy improvement here, right? Versus what it was in Japan. So, that was the finding, the output, if you would, of that investigation, and we were very successful with that product and its position here, versus what they were doing in Japan. And later in Japan, they adopted part of that strategy and continued to build and ramp the sales.
Yeah.
So, when you take a look at what happens within the current system of the business, can the current business systems still welcome and still supply and support the existing or that new business that's coming in, right?
Yes.
Or a different business model that needs to happen.
Yes.
As an example, are you selling to completely different channel members?
Yes.
Versus the channel members that you already have established, right?
Or I give you another example. For example, in order to avoid large amounts of capital for your business, you are forced to do pre-sales. And would the market that you're addressing accept pre-sales? It's a very simple change in the business model that can be a success factor or even a failure, a reason for failure.
Right, right.
And so on. So I believe and the more we discuss about Ansoff and BCG and McKinsey and whatever, the more we discuss about that, I see that there's a whole world opening there, which is the innovation in the business model side.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And the funny thing is now, I was thinking, does the 4x4 also apply there? And it does. The only difference is that the intellectual property and its protection is different, because you don't get patents for business ideas. But there are, in our patent attorney toolbox, we have other tools to protect that. And this is very much dependent on the specific country, because each country has different laws with respect to protection of business know-how or goodwill, you may call it, or passing off falls under that, unfair business practices, but also practical protection mechanisms that I would, in the broadest sense, call building a moat around your business. And that can be an advantage, a first comer in, let's say, in Google AdWords for a certain area, for a certain service or product or whatever. But all these have something in common. And I believe that is, at least for me as an engineer by background and patent attorney, this is vastly underrated and overlooked. And I believe we should address this area. And I already changed the syllabus for the TUM Asia lectures to also take that into account. I believe for a true innovation course, you need cover both, not only the technical developments, but also the business model or market development business. I was struggling for a long time with that corner of the Ansoff matrix. And now I believe is a good time to bring that up. And I took out all my Keeley and Osterwalder books for reading them over Chinese New Year, which is right ahead. Next week we are going to have Chinese New Year, the other New Year in this world. Yeah, but and that also makes this lecture or the whole ecosystem very different from what exists, because I did some investigation at Technical University of Munich. They have departments for product development, They also have departments for intellectual property and but not for freedom to operate, and also not for business and or market development. There is some economists department, but not for the, I would say, I don't know, the best would probably be business school, a US business school. I don't know. I only attended a Chicago Street MBA course, but that was all. I never saw a business school from inside. Now is your time, Michael, because you attended, you have an MBA.
Well, does TUM have a business school, Martin? Because MIT, Caltech, I mean, most of the engineering schools in the US, like Stanford, they also have a top MBA program. Doesn't TUM have a business school?
I don't think so, but I Google now. TU München.
Well, there's
No,
INSEAD. I mean, there's great business schools throughout Europe, so TUM probably stays at the sidelines, being a technical place only.
as a school of management, but we know that managers are not business people, right?
Well, do they have an MBA? Do they call it management or an MBA?
Um, Probably, yes, there's an MBA in business. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Management.
that's where the strategy people learn how to do it. They don't sit in an engineering
But
class to try and do Ansoff matrix.
but this is a known fact that managers are very bad entrepreneurs.
I think it's hard to generalize, Martin.
No, that's how it's defined. An entrepreneur is not a manager, and a manager is not a technician, and a technician is not an entrepreneur.
That's just semantics. I've
No,
worked
no,
with
no. You
hundreds.
can.
I've worked with hundreds really good managers who are also entrepreneurs and serial innovators. So tell me about it.
No, okay, but then maybe you have found the source where they are made, but because in 30 years I have never seen any good manager who is a good entrepreneur at the same time, and I have never seen an entrepreneur who is a good technician. An entrepreneur is a guy who always sells faster than what the technician can make. And the technician is always frustrated by the entrepreneur because the entrepreneur is selling things too early before the technician could eradicate all the bugs of the product. And the technicians never can convince the entrepreneur that there is still this extra feature that must be added to have a good product. And the manager is the one who keeps the two going and makes sure that the technician delivers the products at the time when the entrepreneur has promised to the customer. So these are the three basics. And the entrepreneur is frustrated about the manager because the manager always forces the entrepreneur back to reality. And the technician is frustrated about the manager because he would always get whacked by the manager because the technician is always too late to deliver the product.
Martin?
And so all the three are,
Martin?
yes, go ahead.
How would you judge Roger Stadler?
I never judge people.
No, not judge, einschätzen. Wo würdest du ihn einsortieren? Was manager at BMW. He has the biggest wine and beer import business, has the biggest pretzel import
Okay.
stuff.
Jürgen,
Scales.
Roger is a friend of mine who I know for a very long time. And
Yeah.
as you have mentioned his name, I'm really reluctant, both from a lawyer's perspective, because we work for him, and also because of personal data protection, to reveal any insight into his personality.
No, okay. But as you said, a manager can't never be. You don't know anyone. I would put him into this one of a kind, a very rare personality. That's all. We don't have to to
No, I have
psychogram.
no, I have much more insight into that. This would not be good. I don't want
Okay,
to.
then
But
it's
what I
okay.
can tell you, what I can tell you from my own experience, you can take me. I'm a mixture between a technician and an entrepreneur, and I'm the lousiest manager that you can imagine. And so what I can tell you is that most people have dominate in one of the three areas, and some in two. And but I have never seen one who is good in all three areas. And if someone comes from a business from a school of management, I would assume that the guys there thrive in managing people and and
School of management is just a philosophical title. It's to encompass, finance, marketing, um, all the business, aspects of business, right?
okay, but
And
I have
and
I have
people.
yeah, I have another revelation for you. I'm also the inventor of a matrix, the Martin Schweiger matrix. And let me explain the Martin Schweiger matrix, and then I tell you what from my insight how I would, and I apply it in my own firm. The Martin Schweiger matrix comes with two dimensions. The first one is and I'm looking at the type of work that people are doing. The first type of work is it that are you doing a routine job or are you doing a non-routine job? And the second dimension is are you working in the company or are you working on the company? So, and the routine people who really thrive when they can do the same thing over and over and over again are in the lower right corner, where you find the routine job and working in the company. And then you cannot run a company only with people who do the routine jobs or who love to do the hands-on jobs. Um, um, be they routine or non-routine or innovation or non-innovation. But what they do not want to fight fires, and they do not want to introduce innovation into the company. And those people is what we call managers. They have a they they have a how to say they they lead a company in a more strategic way. When they have achieved one goal, they look for the next one to achieve. For example, while the people in the lower right matrix, right corner, are the ones who thrive in the routine work. And if you give them a KPI, they are the fastest to achieve the goal. But once they have reached the goal, they just stop working and they idle until the KPI starts fresh from new. So you have surely seen that, right? You give someone a KPI and then suddenly they work like a horse. And 10 days before the month is over, they have reached the KPI. And when you look at the last day of the month, I mean, a good manager would look on a daily basis, but I told you I'm a lousy manager, so I just look when the next KPI starts. I find out, hey, what have you done the past 10 days? I said, oh, I've cleaned up a bit here, and I looked into my drawer, and I did this and that and this and that. And hey, but we have this other thing. Why didn't you pick it up? I said, very simple, Martin, because you never told me to do so. You gave me this KPI, so I do. Right? I call this level. These guys are level 3, and you would be surprised. You would even find lawyers who work like that. We have one. Yeah. And and yeah, and the level 4 guys are the ones who once they have achieved one goal, they look for the next one. And I call these are the strategists. They know how to apply the strategy and they bring the company forward. They are willing to fight fire. They are willing um, to implement new things, but with limitation, of course, because they are fully fulfilled when they can achieve goals, and they are how to say addicted to achieving goals. And those guys are the best managers, I believe. And or you make them overseer in routine jobs because they can bring whole factories into a new mood, into a new swing. So, and I believe a good management school would teach that distinction, plus give those people who thrive in achieving new goals all the tools that they need. And now we didn't speak about the left side of the matrix. The left side is the on the company people. The on the company people, they are the creative guys, maybe, if they have non-routine jobs. Then the non-routine jobs, they would look into, let's say, yeah, apply new techniques from outside. They are open for trying out this and that. They develop new KPIs. They think about how can we improve the thing. They are the innovative guys. And in the lower left quadrants, the working on the company but routine jobs are those who work with who work with KPIs. And I assume that a good management school would also teach that, how to have good KPIs and how to match it with business goals. And then all this comes in. But the true entrepreneurs are the level 5 guys, the people who question everything, who think ahead, the ones with wisdom. They are not strategists, but they have wisdom. I don't know from where. They see things before they happen. They are the true non-incremental serial innovators. So that's the Martin Schweiger matrix, and I use it and successfully because um, it helps me so much to find out what to give people. So, yeah, it's not the first time I introduced that. I've given many talks about that, and on my website there are a few videos about that. And people find it insightful, and they understand better when I explain what I expect from them. And I also know where I'm not. I'm not in the lower right quadrant with the routine work.
So Martin,
Yes.
if you take all your employees and you plotted them against that matrix,
Yes.
what would that look like?
We have a number who are in the lower right corner for routine work. Yes. And they enjoy it. And they like it very much, to be very honest. And if you know that they are like that, then you give them what they need and you fight the fires for them so that they are not bothered in solving these problems. A fire for us is always something happens. You miss a deadline, someone
Yeah,
complains about a bad piece of work, and
I,
things.
yeah,
Yes,
I think we get it. But my question is broader. My question is, if you were to take, your 30 employees, I don't know how many you have, 30 or 50 or 100, and you were to plot them, put their name in each one of those quadrants,
yes.
how many would you have in each quadrant?
Uh, I would say most are in the company on the right side, and the distribution between up and down, I mean, routine and non-routine, I would say 20% non-routine and 80% routine. And then we have about um, maybe 20% that of those would also qualify for on the company in the upper left quadrant, and maybe one who thrives in the lower left quadrant.
I think you could get some real insights out of really taking some time and putting those people in those boxes and understanding, what they can contribute and not contribute. I mean, every company needs, people working in the company,
Yes.
on the company, right? And then, the way I envision what you were saying is you really have a 5-box matrix, right? You've got the traditional 2x2, and then up in the upper right hand corner, you have another quadrant that's unattached. It's a sort of free floating, to the upper right corner of the upper right corner quadrant.
Okay.
And that would be that, more entrepreneurial, kind of person and in the
Yeah.
act of that person, because those people really fall outside of that.
The important thing for us is that nobody has an excuse to say to not do routine work in the company. And it is expected from each one, from the new hire to the senior. I speak of myself. We all have to do work in the company and routine work in the company. That
Say Martin. Martin.
yes.
Okay. About 25 years ago, I was a VP of Business Development and Advanced Technology for a giant UK-based automotive and aerospace company called TI Group. The chairman was one of the best leaders that I've ever worked for. He was my client before I joined full-time, and then after I left, turning down a move to England. They remained my client to this day, all right? He was really, really good at setting objectives. So all of the division general managers had it real simple. It was called 15 cubed. Year on year, the goal was 15% growth in sales, 15% growth in profit, and 15% growth in shareholder value. And he basically said, now it's your job, Michael, to lead and do the strategy for the company worldwide. So there were acquisitions, there were new product development, there was new markets, diversification. We got into landing gear by doing a joint venture with a French company that was adding $1 billion in sales to the company. So in the years I was there, not only did we manage 15 cubed, but the company tripled in shareholder value and was finally bought by Smiths Aerospace. And then that was broken up partly by GE. So it was an enormous success story. The guy was knighted by the Queen of England, and he passed away a couple of years ago. So, the combination of acquisitions, new technologies, diversification, going after competitors, things that we said in our strategic planning, let's do tactics and strategies to win and hold customers and beat and neutralize competitors. And Sir Christopher Lullington loved it, but it was all about the numbers. And I've had work with GE and Emerson that was just as brutal. The goals of the company fell on the shoulders of the division P&L heads, the division managers, and they're either going to make their numbers at Emerson or GE or you're gone. You're gone. And the managers that were hired were skilled enough that the CEOs of these companies don't get into the woodwork of, like you said, working in the company or on the company or routine or serial innovation. They basically said, look, we're here to make money for shareholders. Either do your job or you're gone. And the job was measured based on growth and financial performance. It sounds brutal, but it's the reality of giant companies worldwide. And you always talk about, Martin, going after the small to middle. The small to middle, I think, in many companies are managed the same way. The leaders, the CEO, and the board of directors don't want to get into the woodwork. That's why they hire good people to manage the various divisions.
But that's different in Germany. It's very different.
Well, I sent you an email, Martin. There was a case at Mercedes called the 124, and the engineers said, "Don't worry about the money."
Yeah,
and then
sorry
they
to
replaced it with
bring
a
you back to the
Well,
reality all the time, Michael.
it's the reality.
companies
the new guy
that
at
we are
Mercedes, he ruined the
talking
company
to-
with a W210. The
Yeah, the
124
companies
was
we
a
are
prize.
talking to are not Mercedes and not BMW.
Well, the story's the same, Martin.
No, it's
I
not.
don't. I think the good companies that are small that end up being medium and end up being big have to do this discipline, or they're going to be gone.
Yeah, you cannot just transfer the knowledge from US to Europe. It doesn't work.
Well, the example I sent you for the platform called the 124 at Mercedes was a classic business school
Yep.
case, Martin.
We are talking with people who supply to Mercedes, and they are suffering now. I had this week, actually, we have one here. Is Christoph Hering, are you still here?
Yeah, he's on the list.
Yeah, last time he didn't switch his microphone on, so I don't know. But Christoph Hering is from the
I'm also here.
Chamber of Commerce in Guangzhou in China. And just 2 days ago, we had a meeting of the committees of the German Chamber of Commerce in Singapore, and they all highlighted the ICI talk that you have given about China because it was outstanding. And so we talked about what are we going to do. And what I can tell you is that one of the projects for this year would be um, a little congress or a convention, a mini convention with the goal of bringing German small and medium-sized Mittelstand companies to Singapore and introduce them to doing business in Singapore and the surrounding Southeast Asia companies. And yeah, so and a bit that defines also, I found the core of the targets that I'm aiming at with my insights as a patent attorney and where I can yeah, get that power on the road. And we are not looking at Mercedes because Mercedes already has a subsidiary in Singapore and they already have a factory in Malaysia and or in Indonesia. And but we are talking about suppliers to Mercedes or suppliers to Mercedes, which is tier 2 or tier 3, 4, or 5 um, suppliers to the car industry, because that industry in Germany is dying currently. And you can see it more and more. And those companies, they call outside and and some even call the chambers of commerce outside of Germany asking what could they do. And most of them say, we are now looking to set up a business in China. And my first reaction to when I heard this was, good luck. is is you you're switching from one red ocean, which is Germany for tier 2, 3, 4 suppliers to the car industry, to another red ocean, which is China, which thrives on shrinking margins, is what I understood from you. So,
Yeah, interesting observation.
yeah,
Well, I do agree. By the way, Martin, I liked your two-dimensional metrics, and the idea occurred to me, those people who are in, well, how do you call it? Working in the company and doing routine jobs.
yes,
If we make the connection to the matrices, these would be the people who keep the cash cow running in the BCG matrix.
correct.
And you need them. And I think
Yes,
every company has some sort of hierarchy so that 80% of the people have to do these routine works just to generate the cash flow,
yes,
so that 20% have enough funds for making new projects going and exploring new markets, new technologies.
correct.
By the way, there was also something interesting. So I'm just doing the sum up here of all the interesting contributions which I heard in the past 30 minutes. When Rich was talking about business development and trying to define business development, it nicely parallels what Michael just said about this 50% increase every year or every quarter or whatever. I mean, business development is anything which at the end of the day brings more money to your cash account. I think this is the take-home message, no matter what it is.
Oh,
And
Roland,
yeah,
forgive me. It was
oh,
15%, not 50. But
yeah, 15, okay.
the company achieved in a couple of years I was there, it was 50% because the Dowdy joint venture brought another $1 billion on top of the 3 billion. And Martin, it
Yeah.
was a UK company, by the way, with operations in 115 countries, including all over Europe. So, but they were European headquartered. So when you said European companies aren't like US companies, take a look at the history of TI Group.
I mean, there are surely companies that are similar, but you would not find those companies among the tier 2, 3, no, tier 3, 4, 5 suppliers to the car industry. And these are the guys who have problems now.
Well, I'm not sure why you're differentiating between Mittelstadt and the big guys. I think the strategic planning could be identical in small, medium, and large companies. It's just the discipline
Because the
of the
strategic
leader.
planning happens in your mind first. And the people who run those small Mittelstands companies, they are not strategists. They are very often craftsmen, master craftsmen with no, I don't know, I wouldn't even tie it to a university degree. This is the mindset of someone who works in the German Handwerk.
But some of those
Yep.
some of those CEOs previously were with a giant, and then they stepped down to a smaller company. I think
Yes,
the
and I've
fluidity
seen
of
them fail because they cannot root in an environment where most of the people are blue collar. And the owner is blue collar. And when he sees a PhD walking in, he gets an allergy. And I can tell you because I have clients who tell me that they only like to work with me because I have no PhD. And they are very happy because we are, yeah, if you want to say so, a blue collar company, a blue collar patent attorney firm or whatever. And that's because most engineers don't have a PhD in Germany. Because for an engineer, if you have even it's called, it was a diploma. If you have a diploma in engineering, that's enough. Then that's when life starts. And only some do a PhD, and mostly those who want to end up in science, but not the guys who work in general. I agree that when you take the MNCs like BMW or Linde or what are the other, these are the the biggest Munich companies from my time. Or you take Mercedes or Audi or whatever. If you have a PhD, then it's easier to get a job in the C level. But not always. I can tell you that for engineers, I would say only 2 in 10 CEOs have a PhD, at least in my time. I don't know how it is today. With the inflation of PhDs, it may be higher. But
Well, Martin, there's a master's in between, okay? The PhDs in engineering often end up teaching, they become college professors, but a master's in engineering can be
in,
just as attractive as an
okay,
MBA.
until 15 years ago, there was no masters in engineering. There was a diploma. And if you don't reach the diploma, you have failed your studies. And the
Well, for
diploma
100
was
years here, Martin, for 100 years, there's been bachelor's, master's, and PhD in engineering
only
schools.
outside of Germany. Michael, good morning.
Well, no, I'm talking about in the UK, okay? Aston University has a master's for 100 years, but they teach people how to build steam engines like Watts or whatever.
Yeah, and
If Germany doesn't have a master's, shame on Germany, because the world has a master's in between a PhD and a
yeah,
bachelor's in engineering.
yeah,
Yeah, that's by the way, that's why Martin said if you had a German diploma in engineering, that was enough because there was no intermediate step. That what roughly equals the bachelor. That was some intermediate examination after 2 years. You had to pass it. If you didn't pass it, you failed your studies. If you passed it, there was another examination, the final examination, waiting after 4 years, and that's what you got your diploma.
So internationally, after the diploma is the PhD. And only in
That's
Asia,
weird, Martin. You call it a DPIL. You don't even call it a bachelor's. You call it a DIPL, whatever diploma. In the U.S. we call a high school 4-year diploma. After that, it's called a
yeah,
bachelor's.
that's what I say. The US is not Germany.
And
Well,
in the US,
Germany.
I saw a kindergarten academy.
Yeah. So now all what I want to say is the following. Or maybe in a sideline, uh, you can see what happened to the UK car industry without the diploma, right? So there is none left. But now Germany is also losing the car industry in Germany, but not outside of Germany. So, but the same happens to the chemical industry and also to the heavy machinery industry in Germany. So these three are the ones that suffers a lot from I mean, for many things. And for those companies, there are only two ways out. The first one is focus on what they're good at, means building prototypes and innovate in a non incremental way. And the other one would be to prepare for developing markets outside of Germany, because those small companies, they never had the need to think strategically, because they worked as suppliers in a well-oiled machine that ran very nicely for 70 years after World War II. And now this thing comes to a grinding halt. And that's what they are facing now. And the current mood in Germany is subterranean, I would say. Is unterirdisch, is the worst. That's what I heard this week. And so they think, what could we do in order to support those people? And one way would be to show them, and I'm talking now about the 50, 100 people company, right? And to show them how to sell the existing products and services outside of Germany. And I believe a good place to do so would be in Southeast Asia, with and starting from there, venturing into the surrounding neighbors and maybe even to China. But that should somehow come together. And I was hoping to discuss this with Christoph so we can even create a bigger picture. But I believe right away going to China as a 50 or 100 headcount German company and trying to sell the products there comes close to suicide. I don't know. In very short words, Christoph, you have the final word, and then we are at midnight anyway.
Okay. Well, I would agree with that, if you want to enter the Chinese market, you need to get ready for a lot of competition, and you need efficient or enough capital to enter the market. It's not that you just hire one person and then pray for the best. You really need a good strategy. And you need some money for marketing and really get a good idea of what you want to do in China. So if you're just 150 people, 200 people, then maybe some markets outside of China and South Asia could be a better target.
Yeah, that's what I've seen also. Yeah, thank you for the final word.
And
Thanks a
the
lot.
competition is heating up because the Chinese. Yeah.
Just finish your sentence, Christoph.
Sorry, Martin.
You
No, I was
heard-
just saying that
because the
the
Chinese
Chinese players are also entering into South Asian market. They are
Yeah.
also going to the South Asia market, and they are cornering the markets and taking market share.
Yes.
So it is heated competition.
Yeah. Okay. So we
Hey,
have.
hey,
Yes?
Martin, sorry. I sent you a message on LinkedIn. Hopefully you get a chance to see it.
Okay, thanks a lot, Kevin. Thanks. So I thank you all for attending this week, and see you again next week. It was very interesting discussion. I liked it so much. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, Martin.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
bye-bye.
So long, Martin.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.